We are live. We're live with Daily Sigh. Let me let people into the Zoom room. All right, we've got Brandon, Adam, Raphael. Let me go live on the gram. Go live. There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Sigh. If you're joining me live here in Zoom, hang tight because I got to read my little spiel, which I'll do to buy us some time while people trickle in. If you're watching the live stream, you can join us live. The Zoom link is in my private community. Just go to dailyside.ai and you'll see the link to join. Join the link, go to the calendar, you'll see the Zoom, sign up, come hang out because this is where the mastermind happens. But first, we need to take a look at what's going on in the world because it's crazy, y'all. I really mean it, by the way, like that's why I'm hosting these calls because there's just too much to keep up with. I'm absolutely overwhelmed. Every time I look away, I feel like I'm getting left behind. And so I wanted to have these calls so that I can stay up to date, get put on game, be reminded about what's important, be informed about what I need to know. I learned a ton of stuff yesterday that just freaking blew my mind. Um, and I expect that's going to happen today too. So let me dive into today's leading stories. The first from Entrepreneur. YouTube revenue eclipses legacy media giants. This is maybe the greatest news that anybody's ever heard in the history of the world if you love YouTube as much as I do. YouTube's $40 billion in ad revenue now surpasses the combined ad revenue of Disney, Paramount, NBC Universal, and Warner Brothers Discovery. This marks a permanent shift from buying shows to buying intent. For the $5 million to $50 million businesses, this validates that a digital first distribution strategy is no longer an alternative. If you want to know how to stay relevant in the post AI world, my very, very, very strong and petulant opinion is you have to build a brand. You don't have a choice. There's no other option or opportunity. And so if you're not building a brand for yourself, then you're going to be left behind in no uncertain terms. And if you don't know how to build your brand, by the way, the answer is YouTube. Go play with YouTube. It's the most repurposable content platform by a billion miles. It's also, I don't know if you know, most people don't know, it's the number one podcasting platform on the planet. It's amazing. I love seeing this. Second story from TechCrunch. Poppy founder achieves a $2 billion exit via digital mastery. A kitchen-born soda brand just exited to PepsiCo for nearly $2 billion by prioritizing TikTok virality over traditional beverage marketing. I just like that for small businesses because, I mean, this literally, if you know the story, this was started in somebody's kitchen and they just got $2 billion from Pepsi. From TechCrunch, Lovable reports $100 million monthly revenue growth with, wait for it, 146 staff. If you're not using Lovable, incidentally, you absolutely need to. If you want to learn how to use Lovable, I happen to own a vibe coding incubator. Go to vcinc.ai. We'll teach you vibe coding for free. I think it's the largest vibe coding incubator that exists, actually. It's Nuno Tavares, who's a business partner, Yvonne Boonen, and Kyla Love, who's a rapper, by the way, brilliant young woman, and also the top Lovable ambassador and the only person who's both a Lovable and N8N ambassador. So it's the best education you get your hands on. Lovable is amazing in so many ways. Vibe coding unto itself, I think, is one of those skills that's going to at least elongate the forced obsolescence. Some of our sub stories from Reddit. SBA launches $50 billion investigation into relief fraud. The SBA is investigating $50 billion in potential waste from COVID-19 programs. So just absolute shocker that the government could waste that much money. I don't believe it. From TechCrunch, Google wraps a $32 billion acquisition of Wiz. We talked about that yesterday. I'm not going to touch on that today. And new tax legislation reinstates research and development deductions. This is an article from Entrepreneur. This is really, really, really important for small businesses to know. New laws allow for full and immediate deductions for domestic R&D and capital expenses. Y'all, if you're not playing the R&D game, you're doing business wrong. And I really mean that. In a post-AI world, you have to be running constant, nonstop experimentation, and it's the most effective that it's ever been in the SMB space. So those are my stories. We're going to switch to the masterminding. For those of you that are joining me on Zoom, I really appreciate you. I see Mike Lewis. Dylan's here. Dylan's back. I appreciate you coming back, brother. We've got Adam, Bradham, Brandon, Raphael, and Elliot Dean. What's up, Elliot? I'm glad you're here, man. Dylan, you've got your hand up. Let me get to you in a second. But if you're watching the live stream, you can come join us on Zoom. Just go to dailysigh.ai and we will get you into the community, into the Zoom room. And we're going to do this every single day at 6 p.m. Eastern. Dylan, the floor is yours, brother. What do you got to say? Oh, wait, you're still muted.
Thank you. I put my hand down. I didn't unmute. Okay. Yesterday you mentioned email infrastructure for AI agents,
Yep.
and that piqued my interest. So I used Gemini Deep Research and learned a whole lot more than that. So did a little bit of looked into that. There's a bunch of them popping up. Some people said they were using the email to communicate between their agents, and other people said email's not really made for that, and they all shared how they were doing communication between their agents. And every single person had a different way of doing it. And
Hmm.
they were all DIY. None of them were businesses. So we are applying our human systems to AI agents when they're not made for them. It is just kind of what we have right now. Uh, so I looked into, what is going on with agent communication. Uh, So for a number of reasons, email is not efficient. Um, but that led to other things like agents don't use the internet the way that we do.
Hmm.
And websites use DNS to translate their domain name to an IP address, and that's how you find a website. Um, Agents need a way to find and communicate with other agents. They don't need request headers or a number of other overhead of DNS and things like that. So it really needs to be rebuilt from the ground up, but they are working on putting something on top of DNS called DNS AID, which will allow agents to discover each other. Um, but then agents need to know which agents to trust. We have SSL certificates, we have domain registrars. Um, so they're working on a blockchain registry of agent reputations
No
so
way.
that agents know who to trust. And then if an agent does something bad, it will be recorded on this registry, and the other agents will know not to trust that agent. They're also making machine-to-machine payment protocols where one machine can tell the other. It's a 402, like if you've heard of 404,
Yeah.
it'll return a 402, which tells the one agent this is how much it costs, and then that agent can do like a crypto transaction. Um, you've probably heard of MCP, the protocol for agents to use tools. They also have A2A now, agent to agent, for agents to communicate. Those two protocols introduce new attack vectors like prompt injection, context poisoning, memory corruption, and unauthorized tool execution. Um, so they want to have other agents that monitor agents for those security issues. It'll keep an eye on their memories and context and make sure nothing is being injected. Um, and then this is the most interesting one to me. Uh, Agents don't need to use English. In fact, it's incredibly inefficient. It's the most inefficient part is tokenizing language.
Hmm.
Um, they are probability machines. They make inferences. So the result is like a set of values, like vector calculations, that are then tokenized into English. You give the English to the other agent, it tokenizes it back into values. So they can just exchange the values without ever tokenizing. But you can only do that with open weight models like DeepSeek, Llama, um, Quen. There are some other ones, but like you couldn't do that with Claude. You couldn't, but there would be zero latency. That would be if you had an agent that was trading stocks and another one that was trading stocks. Like you had a research agent and a trader agent, and another person had the same setup, and you could do that communication without using English. You would beat them every second of every day.
You're blowing my mind right now. You've said a bunch of things that I think are so important. Um, I want to unpack a lot of it. I want to go back to the communication with agents. You said something that is a writer downer. We are forcing agentic utilities into human paradigms and frameworks by default. And I think so much of it is because we lack the imagination to even realize like, oh, this isn't necessary. So like what you said with the emails, the email infrastructure that's built for humans has layers and layers and layers and layers of, I guess what you'd call like their interpretation layers, right? It's just like a UI on a website is an interpretation of the database of that website. And the agent doesn't need the UI, it needs the database. But because we're so used to the way that they function, we're making so many assumptions about what agentic tools need. So that's paradigm number one. That's a first principles writer downer, dude. That's absolutely freaking brilliant. So good. I'm already in bonus time for today. Bonus time, by the way, I stole from John Vroman. It means that the cost of admission to an event has been achieved and exceeded, and anything else I learn is a bonus. So Dylan just put me in bonus time because that's something that I want to, for the rest of my life, remember that as I build agentic tools, not to build it with assumed human infrastructure. So thank you for that. That's number one. Number two is the DNSA ID H2A, which I wrote down. The MCP protocols. Like, if you want to stay ahead of the curve, this is a VHS Betamax discussion amplified. The the codex that takes is the one that's going to allow for some level of um, competitive advantage. And so all you have to really do is just watch and see which direction those things tip in. So that was statement number two that I wanted to make. And then statement number three, dude, and you blew my mind with this one too, because I never even thought about this. I don't even know how to think about this. Agents don't need to speak English. And it's actually English slows them down because English has to be interpreted. So help me understand this. You mentioned that they think, I guess they think in values, the values are interpreted to English, the English is transferred across from agent to agent and then reinterpreted in values. What do we call the language, the values that they think in? What is that referred to? Like I mean, is it is it binary? Is it math? Like what is the original value base?
It's statistics.
Help me understand what that means. Like, is there if
I,
you got it?
so I tried to learn like deeper, and it
Yeah,
is AI is all of the math that I hate the most.
yeah. Yeah.
I like the zeros and ones, not the triple integrals and massive matrices operations. Um, but yeah, basically just imagine a set of values that are like probabilities of the answer being this. So or this is, I don't fully understand this, but like it kind of guesses what the next word is going to be in its answer.
Mm.
Yeah,
And then,
it's over my head like
no, but
exactly what it is. I have the document up that Gemini gave me. I can see if there's any more
hey, will you send that to me?
yeah, it also made a an infographic of it, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'd love to be in possession of that because there's a huge competitive advantage there that I like you. I mean, I'll parrot what you said. I'm not going to understand it either, but I'd love to have access to it. That's really interesting, man.
If you want to hear the big words, the extracted high dimensional tensors are mathematically compressed and serialized into a highly efficient, dense binary format. This payload is transmitted via ultra low latency multiplexed protocols such as gRPC or QUIC, QUIC over UDP. I understand those two, entirely eschewing the significant overhead of HTTP headers and JSON string parsing.
Mm.
Upon receiving the binary tensor payload, the receiving agent completely bypasses its own text tokenizer and initial embedding layers. The received vector array is injected directly into the receiving model's attention mechanism, allowing it to instantly assimilate the concept. Because different foundation models utilize entirely different dimensionalities and latent space topographies. SVT, which is what it called it, because it made this all up, requires an innovative semantic alignment bridge. This is a lightweight pre-trained adapter model, essentially a dynamic projection matrix hosted directly on the network edge. So just something to translate between the models.
You know what this
I was
reminds me of, dude?
just saying that exact same thing
Yeah, Jason had
to
texted
my
me
kids.
earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was like,
Um, it makes me wonder about linguistic nuance. Like, so, AI thinks in values. That's interesting. I don't understand it, but I think I understand the gist. And AI's value to us is in its ability to communicate to us, and so those values need to be communicated. And it does strike me that there needs to be some level of proxy. Like Jason just posted, some are making the case that HTML is the ideal interface to be most efficient for AI because can be viewed by both. So the question I would have is which of the human languages is most ideal for, I guess, what we would call communication arbitrage. Um, and then I wonder too, does that put a society ahead of another? You know what I mean? Like if their language is closer, let's say, to codex. Like I remember reading, I think Chinese and Hebrew are both numerical systems. Their alphabets are numerical systems, and so it sort of adds a layer of capability to the way that those languages are used that you don't necessarily have if you don't have that. Um, anyway, maybe that's a little too far afield, Dylan. That's super cool, dude. I appreciate you sharing that with us. That's awesome. And I need to go to school on what that means. That's the problem is like, what does it all mean? Like, how do we get out ahead of this and push ourselves into figuring out like, where's the, how do I take action on this? Where's the competitive advantage?
Another issue is that they play a game of telephone. Like if you have more than two agents communicating, like and they need to communicate in sort of a round robin, because of the that's another issue. It's not just the speed with the tokenization when it like tokenizes English and then tokenizes it back. Things can be lost in translation. Whereas when it communicates directly via the values,
Mm,
it's the values and the values. There's nothing lost in translation.
yeah.
Um, but because that's like a made up protocol that I don't know if somebody here invents it, that would be pretty cool. But there's other like you can take that like that's something you have to pay attention to if you're trying to coordinate between agents. You have to watch for I called it schema drift. That you the example was they're chatty. They like to commentate their own work. So eventually, instead of just putting the email into the CSV, it might put, here's the email, and then
Mm,
the email after X amount. Because I'm sure you've experienced, like, whenever you chat with someone for long enough, you're like, you're not even giving me good answers anymore. The context
yeah.
is uh
There's a degradation to the value that's provided over time. It's interesting because all of the AI tools in my experience have some of the same, and I've actually done a soft experiment on this. They have some of the same flaws that exists in human psyche. So that the experiment that I did is a self-enhancement bias. Everybody on this call, everybody who's watching live has a self-enhancement bias. And what that means is, and they've done like deep, you know, triple blind peer-reviewed studies on this. People believe that a work product is better if they believe that they were involved in the creation of that product. And they did these really interesting experiments where they presented supervisors with a bunch of work and inferred or convinced them that certain work products they were involved in, and it had been long enough for them not necessarily to remember, and they always judged their work products better. Anything that they were involved in, they judged better. That's self-enhancement bias. So I took a bunch of these AI tools and I started telling the AI tools, like I would tell Claude, oh, hey, another Claude app from a buddy of mine created this. And if I tell Claude that Claude created it, it judges it better than if I tell it Gemini or ChatGPT created it. Wow. Which, like, on one hand, you're like, well, obviously it does. But on the other hand, I'm like, I don't think that, that's actually, there's strong implications there. And then, you can also tell it that, hey, you created this earlier. And even though it's not in its memory, it judges it less harshly, let's say, or with
Mm.
more leniency. And so, and you wonder, is that way because AI is trained on, um, I mean, everything AI is trained on is human. And
Mhm.
so we're like giving it all of our ailments. It's like inheriting, our egotism and our
Sins of the
self-enhancement
father.
and yeah, and all that shit. I don't know. Yeah. All
I
right.
know when I'm commuting, when I'm creating content, I'll play them back and forth between each other, right?
Yeah.
I'll go GPT and Claude, and I'll get the best document that I can. And then I'll put it through a Google Eat Rater and Content Quality Rater, and then I'll give it how it's scored, and I'll give it to Claude, and I'll just keep going back and forth until I get to the highest rating because I work in a lot of your money, your life site building and content, and so I've got to be involved in it because it's licensed material and has to go out and make sure it's human reviewed. But I'm still creating a project in Claude, creating an outline in GPT, and going back and forth until I perfect it. And it might take rounds and it might take hours,
Mm.
but sometimes I'm creating a 42-page document that is high level, high rated more than anything out there. And I'll rank it in 2 or 3 days on page one.
Dude, you just said something that I really appreciate. And it's something that I think everybody needs to get acclimated to. We're at least I think a lot of us are spoiled with the idea that AI makes things faster. And so we're used to like, outputs in minutes that we utilize, but it's the outputs that take you hours to calibrate that really end up being massive unlocks. That was number one. I appreciate that. Number two, would you mind digging into for the viewers and the listeners, talk more about that Google Eat Rater? Because Eat was like, it was the SEO thing, and this is EEAT if you're watching or listening. And it kind of fell by the wayside for not an insignificant amount of time. And then when AEO popped up, Eat became the gold standard again. So
Yep.
it's interesting that what's old is new again. Dig into that for us, Brandon, a little bit if you want to give us kind of the TLDR on what it is and why it's important.
Learned it. I'm not going to take it as my own. I learned it from a guy named Alex Meyerhands,
Okay.
and I can find it and I can share it
Yeah, I
on.
think I learned it from Perry Marshall. So I think we
Yeah.
all stole it from somebody, right?
Yep. And he created a great chat bot. I'll actually share it in the group here. But so the it's just taking the guidelines for EEAT and the most updated guidelines, creating a couple of prompts around it, and I mean, Google is the authority that we're still fighting over, right? We see our traffic going down, and we're all worried that AI is going to steal our content. I'm I want to in brand building. We all know that you've got to build a brand and you got to get your brand out there, right? But
And dude,
you
that's going to be so much more true in the coming years than it has ever been. I think,
100%.
yeah, the only competitive advantage a human being is going to have is going to be brand.
Right. And so when you're playing back and forth, right, Kyle Roof, if we know who Kyle Roof is, he's really famous for taking lorem ipsum, putting strategic keywords in there, and then ranking that on the page one of Google. And he's like, what you write on the page doesn't really matter. It's how many times do you have it, and do you have the right semantic SEO
Hmm.
involved into your content, right? It's just an algorithm, and Google is an algorithm machine, right? No different than AI, a predictability algorithm, right? But EAT has when you're writing, right? What is your experience and your expertise and your authority, and how are you comparing to your competitors, right? And my content, how I tend to write, is very long form. I'll go 4,000, 6,000, 10,000 words
Hmm.
in a document. Number one, I know that most people are not going to read that deep, right? But take a look at Medium articles.
Yeah.
They give you the time, 30 minutes, 40-minute read time. Those things rank. They have a lot of attention,
Dude,
but
Substack too.
right,
The longer the Substack article, the more play it gets.
100%. So I've taken for 15, 20 years of building and developing websites. And I know number one, ugly converts,
Yep.
long form converts. And if Google is reading it from an expertise and an authoritative level that your competitors are not doing, you're going to rank. And as long as you're putting tripwires, if you need to convert a lead on there every few paragraphs, lead them to a quiz form, lead them to a phone number, lead them to a book, a calendar. and that's how I'm developing it. But I'm using this quality rater.
Well, hold on. Can I want to pause you for just a second because this gets really interesting to me. And
Mhm.
just to back up, so sorry, I'm going to bounce around a little bit. EAT stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
Correct.
Um, you mentioned something that is interesting because I'm curious as to its survivability. You have these long form pieces of content that lead to lead magnet, tripwire, book a call, download the thing. Uh, the issue I find us running into is I don't think AI susceptibility to those inflection points exists.
No, they're
So
not.
so what do we do? Like as you're creating this content, we create content with the idea that we're funneling people towards a greater end. But when AI goes, eats our content, digests it, and then forgive the analogy, but shits it out in its own way to the end user, how do we continue to inject ourselves in the value ladder? I mean, can we? Or are we just completely at the mercy of these AI tools in order that the subsequent, the follow-up comes back to us? Or you know what I mean? Like without the user pursuing the citation, most of the time they'll never even know where the value came from.
It's multi-layered. First off, we know that schema is being picked up
Yep.
by and read, right? So I go stupid deep on the schema on top of it. And
Yeah.
there was a question. Somebody's like, "Hey, are you going one shot or are you breaking it up into, multiple documents?" Dylan, I'll get back to that question for you on how I'm doing it in my project. But schema, you got to get real deep in your schema. And Google or the AI is really great at telling you what type of schema do you qualify for your documents and hit and hammer every single type of schema that you can on that page.
Well, I just
Uh,
want to pause you. If you're watching this, Brandon's dropping some freaking fire. For those of you that don't know, I've had a five-person team study how LLM source their citations for the last 18 months. I've paid for that personally. We have tens of millions of data points. And the number one key performance indicator from a visibility perspective is schema, what Brandon just said. The second unlock that he offered that's absolutely brilliant is AI will teach you what your schema strategies should be. You can't just turn schema on, nor can you, just quote unquote, just create the schema. Schema is there's a strategy to it, and it's actually overwhelming. Until
mhm.
you go and my preference right now is Claude, but go to Claude, Gemini, Chat, whatever, and explain to it, this is who I am, this is what I sell, this is who my customer is. And you can just ask, what should my schema strategy be? And you tell me how you do this, Brandon. The way we're doing it right now is you can't do it site wide. You only do it page by page.
Page by
That's
page.
what it is. It's like, this is who I am, this is who my customer is. And then it gives me the page by page schema, run it through an agent built to check that because there's hallucinations and mistakes, and copy paste, dude. Like that's as
100%.
with the exception of ecom, which is its own beast. That's as easy and as hard. Like it's a pain in the ass.
Yep.
But the data point that everybody needs to take home, and this should blow your mind. 90% of all citations are schema validated sites.
Mhm.
So if you're talking to AI, in excess of 90% of the information you're getting is coming from schema validated sites. And quick aside, the 10% that's not is the information that's so critical that the power and compute starved AI engines are willing to crawl a site, but they're not willing to do that for most sites. So let's say adjusted for margin of error, unless you have secret sauce content that nobody else has, you have to be schema validated. So 90 some odd citations are all coming from schema validated sites. This is the data point that blew my mind. 12.4% of websites on the internet are schema validated. That means
Correct.
90% of all the content coming from AI is coming from 12% of the websites. All you need to do to throw your hat in the ring with AI is just have schema validated schema. And if you don't know what schema validated schema is, I didn't either. Go to schema.org and it will tell you, hey, this is schema
Yep.
validated schema. So that's a hell of an unlock, dude. If you're watching this, that's the thing that you got to do if you want to be an AI in the visibility, in the purview of these AI tools.
Number two, next to the schema is authoritativeness. Are you linking out and are you doing, Edward Strum caught it. He's another SEO that does videos, right? And he's like, if had somebody on there, if you are doing a authority link or a quote and attributing that quote to somebody else that is an expert in the industry,
Mm.
right? And we don't need to get our own expert quotes. We can use AI to find a quote that already exists use that quote in our content, add it on there, and he's like, in hours, your content is ranking within the AI
Dude, you
and
know
being
what's freaking
researched.
crazy about this? So
Yeah.
this is interesting. You know, I brag about my data. I'm like tens of millions of data points, 5 employees that have done nothing for 18 months. Here's what's funny about, let me tell you why my data is flawed. My data is flawed because all of us, all the way that this would be studied, all SaaS products and tools right now, from SEMrush to HubSpot's AEO Grader to Search Atlas, which I love. I love Monik. He's a buddy of mine. They all are URL based, meaning all we look at things through the lens of URL. We look at link juice.
Mhm.
I was doing a study. I don't know if I built the number one ranked Google Ads agency in the world. Go me. I was only number one because my business partner was the number one Google guy in the world. It's John Moran. He's the smartest Google Ads guy on the planet. So I asked ChatGPT a question about Google Ads, and the response that came was interesting to me. And because I know the industry really well, I was just curious. And I looked at the citation, and the citation was Search Engine Journal. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Search Engine Journal ranked for this query. And just out of curiosity, I clicked on the link and I was scrolling through the article and I noticed, wait a minute, Search Engine Journal quoted John Moran specifically as it pertains to that context.
Correct.
It wasn't Search Engine Journal that got the citation, it was John. But there's no way outside of crawling every site, aggregating all the content, doing some kind of knowledge map that checks citations as it pertains contextually to the query. There's no way to measure that, dude. Like
Right.
it's so meta. It's so mind blowing. So again,
Right.
dude, you're fucking good at this shit.
Yeah. So like if I want to say I want to write a relationship article, right? Or human evolution or something, and I pull a blog out of Tony Robbins and I quote Tony Robbins, or I watch one of his videos and I quote it and I link to the YouTube video or I link to the article that it's written. Now I got my authoritative quote,
Yeah.
right? And then I linked out to somebody that is not going to be my competitor. And so linking out is part
Dude,
of the
or
trustworthy
you
signals,
link to
right?
somebody that is going to be your competitor and steal their link juice. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if your
Yeah.
competitor is more authoritative than you are, you actually get to kind of capitalize on that authority, but then be the one that gets the citation.
Right. So the part of trust is, are you linking out to authoritative areas, right? And
Yeah.
so when I'm in the financial services, I'm looking, or insurance or any in the your money, your life, I'm looking to link out to any of the industries that are industry experts, but not my competitors. And so I will link out to like permitting industries or, trying not to give it away, straight financial resource services, banking, CFPB, right? Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, those kinds of things
Mm.
that are the licensing bureaus for who I'm working with or what I'm trying to solve for. So that's my trust. So you've got to link out. You've got to do your schema. You've got to build back and forth between your perfect ideal piece, and am I covering the content, and do I have it organized in the right way that a reader is going to want to read it and it's going to flow naturally. But
Well, I want
if
to
you
ask you
can
two
be in an
questions.
Mhm.
You said link to authoritative sites. My experience has been, which is not insignificant, AI prefers people over brands 1,000 to 1. So they want Jeff Bezos, not Amazon, right?
Right.
So are you finding individuals, or
But
are you seeing
Google eat is
still URL
trusted,
based?
right? It's
Yeah.
so it's are you linking out to other places? But that's where they want the quote from Jeff Bezos, not from
Right, right, right.
somebody else, right? And so that's where the quote comes in, and linking out into that putting that quote on your own site, like you got that quote into your content,
Yeah.
puts you within hours on and recommended in the AI and the LLMs.
So this is where the quote, and this is going to maybe get too nuanced, but I think this is interesting, and it speaks to some of the problems that we're going to have moving forward. It's ambiguity resolution. So the name Sam Altman appears 50 times in a semi-relevant way. There was a senator named Sam Altman. There was a serial killer named Sam Altman. There was, you know what I mean? There's a lot of Sam Altmans.
Mm-hmm.
And unless AI knows for an absolute fact that you're talking about AI, so for instance, let's say you're talking about HR, and Sam Altman said something interesting about hiring and firing, and that's interesting because he owns OpenAI and he's a smart guy. But there's an HR expert named Sam Altman. Quoting Sam Altman along that level of analysis uh, ends up not being as advantageous as, like, I'm looking at some, like, Mike Lewis is on this call. There's probably a lot more Mike Lewises than there are Grant Fullenbachs. right? And there's probably more Grant Fullenbachs than there are Qasim Muslims. And so when you're looking for these authorities, it's not just about who the best authority is or what the best quote is. It's also about AI's ability to see that authority and their ability for ambiguity resolution.
Anchor
Uh,
link the brand,
and,
anchor
and to flip that around, if you want to be like Brandon, what's your last name? Do you mind me asking?
Mushlin.
Okay, so oh, dude, we're buddies on Facebook. That's so
Yep.
funny.
100%.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, I've seen your name a lot. It's cool
Hmm.
when you actually get to connect with somebody. That's all. Have we
Yep.
met before? Or is this the first time?
No, I mean, we've chatted back and forth on it, and I was looking at what Pareto is
Yeah,
yours.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking at hiring through Pareto. I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet.
Oh, you're dead
But
to me,
I
dude.
mean,
You
I've
gotta
watched
get
you since
just kidding.
Solutions 8 and your podcast, and back I've been listening to you since before AI was invented, or come mainstream, basically.
That's so
Yeah,
fun. Well, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for being here.
100%. Yep.
Um, if there's another Brandon Mushlin out there, then the question becomes, how do you put yourself in a position of the ambiguity resolution? And I have an answer to this. Every authority needs a hub, so you'd be brandonmushlin.com. And the most important schema tag right now, by my estimation, and I was told this, I didn't learn this. This is Julian who runs AEO.co for me, is the same as tag. Those because you can say this Brandon is the same as that Brandon is the same as that Brandon is the same as that Brandon, and dude, AI seems to eat that shit up. And so, if you're listening to this and you really want to know what to do to establish yourself as an authority, number one, create quality content, like Brandon's saying. If you don't know how to do that, shoot YouTube videos. It's the number one unlock because YouTube's already pre-schemed in long form, and now you have all this repurposable content. And then have a personal site, a brand site, and then a content site, and all three of those should be linked to from your personal site using the same as tag. And if you do that, you'll accomplish what Google Plus was trying to accomplish 15 freaking years ago with the Google Plus ID.
Yep.
It's crazy, to be honest with you, how easy it is right now to establish yourself as an authority. And what's crazier is nobody's doing this.
But if you were like, so Sam Altman, for example, if you're trying to get to the right one, you would anchor link Sam Altman OpenAI as the
Yeah.
author for it to his author page or something like that if he has it, or to his
Oh, I
profile
see what you're
page.
saying. So in your content, you could provide the ambiguity resolution by saying it's this Sam Altman.
Correct. And you have to do it now. That's how you have to do it to get within hours recommended in the AI is, you're going to anchor link out for the quote because it's still number one, it gives you trust.
Yeah.
It adds to your trust. And number two, it just basically feeds the proper message to your LLM, who's the right person that you're quoting,
And are you linking to where the quote took place, or are you just linking to where Sam is?
where it took place.
Okay. So if Sam said it on my podcast, you would be linking to my podcast.
Correct.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's wicked smart, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm in bonus time twice now.
Now back to Dylan asked a question, right? Am I one-shotting this? No, I'm playing both. So I love Claude and I love GPT. I love Gemini. I love Perplexity. I love them for their uniqueness of what I'm going to get from them. And if I don't like any of them, I'm going to just back away.
Mm.
But I'm going to write my instructions first. And I'm going to play them back and forth, my instructions for a project, because anything that I'm going to do is going to be a project within Claude. And it's going to, for your money, your life, or whatever my financial company is going to be, it's going to be all the items that need to be a reference material inside my Claude, plus the instructions that guide it. And as I create a page, if I'm creating a hub, a topical authority hub, for example, I'm doing one project for a topical authority hub. And each time I create a page, I'm updating the instructions with the final agreed document that has gone through the EAT rater, that has given me the highest version of it, and updating the instructions with the quality benchmark so that it knows, like, here's the pillar page. And then now I'm going down, I've got 10 pages underneath my pillar structure of what I'm going to create content. Each one that I create, I'm updating my instructions, check marking off, but I'm making it go in multiple sections, not one shot. I want the outline, I want to approve it, I want to modify it back and forth. I'm going to go back and forth again. One article might take me 3-4 hours, might take me 8, but that article could end up being 40 something pages that in 2 days is going to page one on against financial service companies that are spending $1.5 million a month on ad budget, and I can't compete with that.
Mm.
And I also know most of these people are not going to read 40 pages of content, 11,000 words plus,
Yeah.
right? They're going to somewhere have the answer. And I'm always at the beginning, I'm also going to anchor link, right? Like a table of contents for them to anchor link down to my content to get off. I'm going to answer what the question is in the first paragraph or two, give them the answer, but I'm going to provide guide quality depth to everything that I'm writing about in a level that no one else is writing about it, and go way overboard. Know that they're never going to scroll to the bottom of the page, but I tripwired them somewhere to convert.
Do you have difficulty with context windows or token usage because of the length of the document? That was what I was more curious about. Like, if you start in Claude and then go to GPT and then come back to Claude, do you make a new chat thread? Because if you come back and put it in, your context window fills up every time. Like when your context window grows, you use more tokens, all that.
No, I don't. I haven't run into that. Even with 11,000 word articles, I have run into like you've timed out your usage and wait a few hours, and that's my cue to take a break from the computer anyway. You know what I mean? Because if I've done way too much and I haven't gotten up and moved around, but I haven't run into token issues at all. Yeah. And this is on the 20 something dollar a month plan for both of them, not the $200 a month, GPT Pro. I don't need that even for what I'm doing, you know. I'm not using agentic AI right now. I'm not giving AI access to my docs and to my workflows and my email and my bank accounts and stuff. I have yet to give it the trust. But when I am providing it real financial like matrix and content and science and in-depth stuff that like I want the human to understand that these brochures and guides just do not have. That's when it's going into the project, and I want to make it better for humans to read and understand.
Hmm. I want to ask you about that because my thesis on content right now has been AI selection and human consumption. So what that would mean to me is um, it's written almost like a library is built. You know, you don't build a library for it's not a coffee shop. You're not there to get people to hang out. There to make things easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
And so you almost want it like structured in a way that allows for because all AI is playing economy crawl. And so it's like, crawl through things easily. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, nope, this is interesting. Let me dig in deeper. Um, so I would write and I'm not doing this yet. We're launching an AEO agency, Brandon, and maybe I just need to talk to you about this offline. But the way I'm about to have my team create the content is not written to make it easy for humans. As a matter of fact, I think the way that we're going to write it is probably going to be obnoxious if a human goes through it because it's going to feel mildly repetitive. But it's going to allow an AI agent to be frugal with its crawling because the headers are going to be robust. So it's almost going to be like Amazon product headers for paragraph headers. And then if it likes what we say, then it dives deeper in the specific context. And if it likes that, maybe there's an offshoot. And then that allows the AI to crawl the content, grab what it wants, and then rebuild it to the end user. AI selection, human consumption. I'd love for you to challenge me on that paradigm.
Um, I'm trying to get a human, right? I want a human to read it. I want the human to take action in everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
That's such a good response because I don't. I'm
yeah,
going for agentic commerce.
right.
We've niched down to e-com, so I'm just trying to get somebody to buy some shit. So what a good point. If you want a human, write for a human. If you want a bot, write for a bot.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still the schema in there, right? I mean, the bots are still going to read it, and there, plenty of people are still going to go and be like, who is the best at this? Who is the
Yeah.
best at that?
Here's the thing
And
about schema though,
yeah,
that I think the bots are gonna usurp. Schema now operates the way that HTML operated in 2004, where we can just keyword stuff. So
yep,
flashback SEO 2004, and if I wanted to rate for, I don't know what, pool toys, I just go into my footer and put pool toy, or pool toy Phoenix, pool toy Scottsdale, pool toy, and then suddenly I rank for pool toy. So it was gamifiable. Schema right now is just as gamifiable. You can say whatever you want in your schema, and AI's like, we believe you, which is
Right.
like really dangerous. And as soon as, douchebags like me tell the world about that, then the people will use it for evil, and then AI will need to usurp it. And so I think schema is going to go the way of metadata. If you'll remember, dude, meta descriptions were actually really valuable for SEO for 36 months. Like it was a long time where metadata was like the thing. All you did was go in and updated your meta description, and you ranked, and that's what showed up in the listing and the snippets. But then people started to game it. I think the same thing is going to happen with schema. And so from the schema, you'll need to push the value back into the content. And that will probably happen in direct proportion to AI's ability to actually capture and cache content without running out of power. I guess really I'm just,
I think the big key that a lot of people miss is the freshness too, right? And Google Eat is like are you
yeah.
updating your content, right? And so a big part of what I'm doing is change logs and updating. You got your published date, you got your updated date, then you got a change log of what changed on the document on the site. So I'm adding a change log to that as well. And I'll go back like I ran it. Okay, I'm going to add an image to the pages.
Yeah.
This month. I'm going to add a Google embed map for what needs to be the next month across the pages or 2 months later. As long as I'm doing something that's keeping the freshness updated and I'm making sure I've got the right schema on there, or I'm adding this round of schema, I'm going next for the next qualifying round of schema. You have to, Google knows, the LLM knows, are you updating it? Because you can let a site sit for years. It's
Right.
not going to stay the authority for years just sitting there by
Right.
itself, unless it had backlinks and Twitter viral, and somebody keeps refreshing that and referencing that doc. It's got to be updated.
Dude, you're a wealth of knowledge, man. I appreciate you being here, dropping that on us.
100%.
Grant, dig into what you just said. Reminds me of what Callaway said recently with using native embeds on YouTube podcasts, allowing call to actions that break the flow. What does that mean?
Yeah, so essentially when you guys were talking about citations earlier, a similar thing, I was listening to Callaway on Open Residency a few weeks back, and
Dude, he's one of my favorite creators, by the way. If you're not watching
yeah,
Callaway, he does a phenomenal job
it's
with YouTube
insane.
specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys get a chance, watch that. It took me 3 days to digest it. It's 3.5 hours long.
What's it called? Callaway. What am I looking for?
Open Residency. It's a YouTube series based,
Callaway Open
but
Residency.
he was just interviewed on that.
Oh, it's
And
not on his channel.
no, no, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That show crushes, by the way,
Oh,
too.
open
Open
right, dude. The
Residency.
channel's oh, okay, okay. I'm so stupid. I was about to say just the most embarrassing thing. This is really helpful. I see it
Okay.
now. Content Masterclass, the most valuable 3 hours of any business owner in 2026.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
All
that
right,
one.
I found it. I'm on it. Thank you. I'll drop the
Yeah.
link in the chat here. If you're not with us live, come join us live. Go to dailysigh.ai. We've already gotten a bunch of really cool stuff. Brandon just posted his GPT that he uses to evaluate content. And I'm about to post this link that Grant provided, and y'all are missing out on the chat. So don't be lurkers. Come join. Sorry, Grant, keep going.
No, all good. But yeah, he was talking about kind of the evolution of podcasts and YouTube when you have sponsorships, and also talking about, when you're citing, um, the sponsorships and the sites almost act as those authority tags or those authority builders,
Mm,
because these LLMs will read it and scrape it, your transcript, just the same way that or maybe a little bit different than it will a blog post, right? Um, and so being able to like basically feed that ad or that sponsorship into the conversation
yeah.
in a way that it doesn't break that he has a certain word for it, but I'll just call it flow. So basically like the audience isn't, bombarded or they're like, what am I listening to? This is an ad. I'm gonna skip it, or whatever. Um Instead, it actually the advertisement still lands, but it stays kind of organic in the conversation. Um, yeah,
It's funny because it's not just about I think the pattern interrupt there too is valuable unto itself. Uh, you know what I mean? Like there's something of a reframe that I feel like that could increase retention if you do it right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, pattern interruption in itself is there's such an art form to that.
You ever watch the South Park guys talk about the word but instead of and? You know what I'm
How
talking
they do
about?
scripting? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I loaded that as a first principle into my script writer in Claude.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, that's just so important. That was awesome too. I'm gonna stick around for another 11 minutes. What can we do in the next 11 minutes? Does anybody have a problem, an issue, an idea, a big unlock that they want to present to the group?
I've been playing around with Polgia, that tool that
Dude, I've
Jason
been playing
brought
with
me.
that too. It built me a business yesterday, and then it asked me for $50, and I was like, all right, but it better be good.
What was it?
It's amazing. Grant, you're the one that told us about it, right?
No, Jason did. Yeah.
Oh, Jason, that was you. Yeah, well, give us the sales pitch again, Jason. Tell us what Polgia is.
Man, it's crazy. So this guy, Ben Sarah, and he just built this thing last November, and he's at a 2 million, $3 million run rate. Like it's going crazy. He basically sat there with, okay, all this promise of agentic and all that you can one person business, all that stuff. Everyone keeps talking about it like it's 5 years away or 2 years. He's like, what if it was now? What would that look like? And he just started building it like that. And so you sign up for this thing for $50 a month, and it sets up a Stripe account. It sets up a domain, sets you an email, sets you, I mean, it's all these one button things. So you can either start with existing business or brand new. And hey, what do you want? So you got like unlimited chat with the Pulsia kind of bot, but it's this fully autonomous. Like, here's a business we want to create. Oh, cool. Here's a landing page for you. Boom. It's up. It's there. It's
Well, and dude, it
beautiful.
did it. I'm gonna share what mine did because it's really amazing. And Jason, thank you for
Yeah.
bringing this too. This was really cool. How do I get? Where's the share button, dude? There we go. Can you guys see my screen?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So here's Pulsia, and I called this glitter, which I actually stole from my buddy. So shout out to my boy Eric. I created a. Oh, here's my prompt. Create a social media company called Glitter that helps people create long form content. It should be honestly, I even my prompt was wrong. It should be helps people repurpose long form content. We would help them with the ideation, script creation, strategy analysis, etc. And then once they've created the long form content, we would repurpose it into short form content and help them carpet bomb the airwaves so they're able to put content literally everywhere: podcast, YouTube videos, shorts, reels, etc., etc., etc. My hope is that in 1 hour a week, they're able to create an epic amount of high value content. And it did it. I've set up everything for Glitter. So it gave me an email address, a landing page. When you open the landing page, it's like awesome. Uh, oh wait, no, this isn't. Well, that's not my landing page. Thank you for not helping me promote you, Pulsia. And then it did market research, and then it gave me a bunch of like tasks it's going to do: build the MVP, dissect the competitors, find 10 creators who need it. Here's the MVP, and the MVP is actually really good too. And dude, it just created this automatically. So I create I add a YouTube video, and then I say multiply my content, and it actually did it
Oh,
really
sick.
poorly, but it did it to Jason's point. Like it just built this whole business stopped, and then it just keeps bringing me ideas on other things that we're supposed to do. So I interrupted you, Jason. I'm so sorry, but I just thought it was so cool that it like
No, it's great. And Grant, you should show, if you don't mind showing, like what you built in it is holy crap. Like he's
Sure.
gone to town on it.
what did you do, Grant?
I had to rebuild my entire web page. Well, I was testing. So I host my web pages through Gamma,
Yeah.
and then I was testing it to see it, like basically if I could rebuild everything through this Polgia thing. And since 5 p.m. last night, it the thing has just been crushing. Um, Here I'll try not to plug too much,
What's
but
it cost to run?
$50 a
so I
month.
ran out of credits pretty
A month?
quick.
$50 a
Oh,
month?
I didn't know that. I'm sure there's credits based.
So,
I haven't run
well,
out of credits yet.
Or
yeah,
what
so
are
it's
tasks, I guess, not credits.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's $50 a month. You get, and it's confusing to hear from, but essentially what it breaks down to is kind of a task a day. You can buy extra tasks for like 19 bucks for another 15 or whatever. But that's just if you want to speed it up. Because basically it's like, cool, I'll go do that overnight. And then you come back and it's done this thing. But you can lump in a lot of stuff. So if you have like, make all these changes to my landing page, that's one task and it'll go in and do that. So it's $50 a month, and 20% of whatever you're selling through the platform with that provided Stripe account.
Sick. Have you guys played with Get Victor?
No, what is that?
So that's agentic AI through Slack. And Dylan, you were talking about, how it's inefficient to be, and it's Viktor, Get Victor. So that's, I guess it operates inside Slack, agentic, runs your team, design your team. A lot of people are, I was just, I have another SEO mastermind group of mine that I'm in. We were in today. We let it go as long as it does. We were like 3.5 hours on it, or 4 hours.
Jeez.
And
What are you doing here, dude? How are you not fried?
I just energized off of the groups like this, to be honest with you. I don't know how I found you so late, but it was your extinction level event email that's like, and you're basically saying you're giving your time for
Yeah.
free to open this up. And it's like you're a wealth of knowledge too. I've learned so much from you and from your podcast and learning. Um, and so it's like I want to hop on more, but I thrive from having brilliant minds together, and I work on so much I don't leave the house often, right? It's so yeah, just solid energy from feeding off of brilliant minds like this. Dillian, how you started it out today, the communication made me think of two things earlier when we were talking. How do they talk together? Did you see the two AIs that talk to each other and then they went to their own code, which is like beeping and making noises? Right? They just stopped using English when they realized that they were two AIs talking to each other, and then just created their own code to go back and forth. And then there was that one how did the AIs crack an answer that could take 100 years or 200 years for a human to answer it? There was like this really hard question that was to be solved, and one of the guys said that like quantum computers couldn't do it, and the only way that they figured out how they could have done it is if they went out to parallel universes and communicated to parallel universes and worked on the project and came back to be able to break the code. And that alone kind of messes with the mind when you think about it, right? You're thinking AI that has only been up since, the human aspect of 2022 basically is now communicating with parallel universes in
My favorite comment about AI, and I forgot who it came from. I bet you it was somebody on Peter Diamandis' podcast. Was something to the point that you're saying, Brandon. It's that we haven't created this intelligence. What we've done is either accessed it or allowed it an outlet or an embodiment. It's not something that we've built, it's something that we've opened.
right.
And that I think A makes way more sense. And B, it actually changes the way you work with it. And what you just said, bro, makes all the sense in the world. You know what I mean? Like if something was going to travel to a parallel universe, it would be AI before you, me, or anybody else. So that is really interesting.
It's a mind-boggling thought. But if you
Bro.
can be open to it, I mean, psychedelics kind of run hand in hand with,
Everybody needs to go do mushrooms if we're gonna have this conversation. Is
yeah.
really what Brandon's saying. Like we got to do
Well,
a
I mean,
mushroom.
And
there's
here's my
mushrooms,
link
then
to
there's
go get
5-MeO, DMT, and then there's ibogaine, right?
Yeah,
And
bro.
so,
Ibogaine is that's a. I sat in an interview with the ex-governor of Texas, Rick Perry, as he was
Rick Perry.
talking about. Yeah,
So my partner, she is an advocate in the government for bringing ibogaine to United States, right? And we did our own venture out of the United States in ibogaine last month, and I got back. It's a harsh one,
dude. Rick
you
said it
know.
was like being escorted through hell, knowing that he was gonna be allowed back. Like it was
Wow.
intense.
I mean, I wondered whether or not to write my this is, whether not to write a will, last will and testament before going into it, just because it is that harsh, right? Like it
Yeah,
can kill you, but they test your heart rate, right, and your EKG, and you have to be on it. But what I saw from a visual aspect, because I've got 25 years of psychedelics and plant medicine and sitting with the plant medicines and having massive respect for it. But what I saw in that versus some of the others was some of the trippiest stuff in the
really,
world. And yes, it was like visiting hell and coming back. But
dude. It
um,
regrows brain matter. It's like one of the only things known to be able
That's
to,
what it was for, was the
and
what can
the
my
brain mass
brain
is
do?
significant. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the positive benefits of visiting hell and coming back exactly?
That's what my
No,
question
it's
was.
dude, it cures
Or
heroin
I'm not
addiction with
sure I understand. Like I understand weed, I understand shrooms. You laughing and having a good time. I don't understand going to hell and coming
It's
back.
not it's not one you'll
Crazy.
never do ibogaine
for
to have a good
fun.
time.
Dude,
Period. Ever.
80% cure rate for heroin addicts on one dose.
Right.
Wow.
Yep.
80%. And who's the guy who wrote Lone Survivor, the Navy SEAL?
Marcus was it?
Marcus Luttrell.
Yeah.
Luttrell, I think I'm going to misquote this, and that's a dangerous thing to do given what I'm about to say, but I think he said something like he was suicidal, had no hope, went and did ibogaine, and that's what cured him.
Um, right. And so great for PTSD.
Yeah.
Um, great for it works on the opiate receptors. Now I used to smoke and I wanted to quit smoking, and I knew for 10 years ibogaine is a possibility of doing it. But the thing is that it it's not the same receptor. Smoking and nicotine is not the same receptor as an opioid,
Mm.
but it worked. When nothing could get me to stop smoking, I went through it to quit smoking. And I also went through it because I knew the possible benefit, the benefits of it. There's nothing in the universe that does regrow and make synapses and connections to the brain. And when I was going through it, it's like you could feel
Feel
and
it.
see and visualize it going through and flooding into the brain and into the body of all these areas.
Yeah, Rick said that too. I have
Yeah,
mercury
the other
poisoning.
aspect was I don't have readers anymore, and I used to have readers.
What does that
So
mean?
like it thick, like for my eyes,
Oh,
optic nerve.
glasses. Oh, okay.
Yeah, glasses. The ability,
Yeah.
like so, like
I
now I
was
see.
picturing blog subscribers. I thought you're like, I
Yeah,
lost all my readers, dude. Nobody reads my shit anymore.
yeah,
Because now all I do is talk about ibogaine.
right. Yeah, no. But it is I'll share this video in here from Jillian Michaels, and my partner, she works with the guy Brian Hubbard, who is talking. He's from Americans for Ibogaine, but this is a really great interview that she did with them for people to use it, and you get the understanding of there's nothing like it in the universe of our universe for
immune diseases
having the ability
pretty
to
much all
treat and
chronic
heal the
diseases
brain.
of
Where did you
There's
go? Did you go to Mexico?
Canada.
What?
Yep.
What?
Yep. Vancouver.
Wow.
Yep. Well, but I came back smoke free. Now it was hellacious. I partied in my 20s, and if you have ever partied too hard and you don't go to sleep and you wake up the next day, that's what it feels like the whole time.
Yeah.
And you get kind of nauseous. Your head feels like 2,000 pounds. You're not
Oh,
really
dude, I
supposed to
heard you
move.
vomit. You shit yourself. Like you get,
You could,
yeah.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you're going through the Spider-Man effect, you just
right.
got
Yeah.
bit.
And you're hooked up to EKGs and monitored the whole time, right? But I just got into a real meditative state, and you lay there and you're in it for 24 hours, and I was in it for about 38 because I'm a
Cool.
slow processor, and I took a mega dose.
Yeah, you don't strike me as a slow processor, dude, but
Yeah, yeah, for medicine itself. Yeah,
that's
but
so funny. Well, we
it
did it
ties
today,
into like
man.
the understanding of could there be quantum worlds out there, right? And if you've traveled on mushrooms or you've experienced 5-MeO, DMT, blast offs, or you've been into the ibogaine world, you have a real understanding of that possibility, right?
Well, I don't even. I'm going to say something ignorant because I have a 10th grade education. I went to public school. What do I know? And I thought that was more or less a demonstrable fact at this point. Like quantum physicists have decided that the multiverse is 100% real, and isn't that like I hate the word settled science. I think those people should be taken out back and shot. But isn't that like more or less settled science now?
I mean, I think what Elon agrees with that, right?
Yeah.
I I don't know if it's settled. I know the religious world, like if you're diehard Christian or Catholic, it's they consider the demonic realm, right? And a no-go into that experience. But I don't know if it's settled. I
It is
just
interesting that the original point, the reason this topic was brought about, and I would double click on what you said. I think that psychedelics will help with your accessibility and receptivity to AI.
100%.
Yeah. That's the I did. I'm not as well traveled as you. I've done 3 therapeutic guided psilocybin journeys, months apart,
Yep.
1 year apart. And I remember Steve Jobs saying this about LSD. He said it's the most important thing I've ever done for myself,
Mm-hmm.
just in terms of changing the way that I think. So for all of you watching, we're encouraging you to do drugs. Fellas, ladies, I got to
Yep.
hop. I've got 2 little boys I'm going to go love on. But number one, for everybody who showed up live to the Zoom call, thank you so much. Y'all are amazing. Brandon, crazy unlock, dude. Like, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Love you as a first timer. Dylan, thanks for coming back. You blew my mind within 60 seconds of you speaking. Jason, always a pleasure. Make sure to plug your podcast next time, Jason, because people got to go watch you. You do a great job. Jason's actually head of the brand building more than anybody else. Mike Lewis, you didn't say a word, but I'm sure you have a lot of value to offer next time you want to pipe up. Grant, appreciate you being back here too, dude. Would love to hear more from you next time. Adam, didn't hear from you. Kai, hope to hear from you. Chris Mateo, heard from you very, very briefly. But for those of you watching live, which are more than I'm going to be able to shut up, but I'm going to do my best. Lucas Smith. Wow, God. All right, we're blowing up, you guys. This is great.
Jason Croft show, right?
Jason Swank, Ogil, Ali, Julian, Steve, Sundolan, Professor Danny, Sean Brady, Phoebe, Strath, Christine Marie, prettiest girl in the world, Gribe. There's if I'm not saying your name, it's because I either can't pronounce it or restream messes with things. But y'all, we're doing this every business day at 6 p.m. Eastern. We're gonna get together. We're gonna have conversations like this. We're gonna try to keep them actionable. I probably didn't do a great job with that today in the beginning or the end, but I think some of the concepts were actually really, really important too. And I don't need to really be dictatorial in these calls. I'd love for other people to lead because, I'm only going to be as good as one person can be. I'd love for this to be a little bit more on a collaborative effort. So if you're showing up, that's my invitation, man. Take it and run with it the way Dylan did. Dylan started this call like firing. That was awesome, Dylan. I appreciate you doing that. Took a lot of the heavy lifting over. If you want to be on the calls, go to dailysigh.ai. You can subscribe. We'll send out daily and weekly updates. You get to choose which one. Fellas, how did I do? Anything that you'd add, edit, or delete? Last words to you guys before we jump ship.
Epic. Totally enjoyed it. Really
Awesome.
appreciate it.
I hope I get to see you guys tomorrow.
100%.
Thug life.
Love the consistency.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen, y'all. Dude, I've already had some like really significant, tangible unlocks, and we've been doing this for 3 days. Like
Yeah.
I've walked away with shit to do, so today's no different. I appreciate you guys being here. I'll see you tomorrow.